You're not the owner of the car.
I'm not giving you the
You either give it to me or I'm going to get it from you.
I'm good. I don't want to fight. You want to get the fuck away from me. Don't touch me. No, I'm not giving you. Why would I give you the keys? They're not yours then either. Don't touch me. Hey, get out my name.
Stop. I'm going to clear. Stop resisting.
Get the fuck off my neck.
Shame on you. Don't you dare start kicking. Go! Stop! Close. Lift your head up.
Boy. So you got to talk about a couple of F around and find out stories featuring some high-calorie liberal women in the great state of Florida, right? The free state of Florida, the red state of Florida, that I think really shows you the difference between how Republicans handle these domestic terrorists or these domestic terrorist wannabes versus how these blue states and these Democrats handle the domestic terrorism in their state, okay? And the reason why we have to highlight this is because of the fact that in these blue states, you're seeing that a lot of these riots are out of control. There's violence, there's chaos, and it's happening because Democrats are allowing it to happen. The reason why you know that it's because Democrats are allowing it to happen is because it's not happening in red states, right? In Republican-controlled states, even though the ICE operations are happening, right? But the difference is that in these red states, they don't have the sanctuary cities. And also in these red states, these woke revolutionaries, these woke activists understand that, hey, when you try to dox ICE officers, when you attack ICE officers, there will be consequences, and you're not going to have leadership try to make excuses for why you did what you did, right? And I think that's all the difference in the world, okay? What you're seeing happening in these blue states is being allowed to happen because that's Democrat leadership, okay? So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into a couple stories here. The first story is going to be featuring this woman, who you can see here, is in tears, because she is an employee of the city of Jacksonville, and she was placed on leave after posting a video on recent reports of ICE raids from her job, right? So, she was on the job, and she decided that she wanted to post these videos, these reports, and now she's finding out. So, without further ado, let's get into it.
Just comply. Have a plan in place.
In an emotional plea to her Latino community, Jacksonville Hispanic Outreach Coordinator Yanira Cardona tells immigrants to have a plan in place if ICE takes them into custody.
But the best advice that I can give you guys, if you don't need to go out, to stay home. Okay? They are out stopping people. They're stopping people, they're doing speed traps. They're stopping people in vans. If you have family, if you have kids, if you have businesses, get a power of attorney. Give a power of attorney to somebody you trust.
There's people recording.
Cardona also encouraged the Jacksonville community to come to the aid of Hispanic families. Her remarks drawing attention from state officials like the Attorney General, who said on X, "This is illegal and needs to be seriously addressed," and Governor DeSantis, who said this in a news conference at the Mayo Clinic today.
And I know you had that one woman in the city of Jacksonville government putting out information. Look, that's not the way we roll here in the state of Florida.
The reason that she was put on administrative leave is because we have a policy in this city. We've got a mayor who is the spokesperson for the city.
In an afternoon news conference, Mayor Donna Deegan says Cardona was put on administrative leave for violating city policy, saying a message from the mayor's office has to be cleared by the city's communications department. Deegan says Cardona shot the social media video while on a city computer in her capacity as the city's Hispanic Outreach Director.
What happened with Miss Yanira Cardona had absolutely nothing to do with the content of what came out of her mouth. We checked with the general counsel's office. Nothing that she shared said anything about anyone who was here illegally. It was simply giving the community information that was freely available, and also giving information about their legal rights. Get representation. Make sure you have a plan. She said a dozen times, if you are stopped, comply.
So Deegan was asked if her office is receiving information about where ICE agents are in the Florida Highway Patrol and where they're staging and searching for immigrants. Well, the mayor said her office does not have any of that information. She said that is being coordinated solely through ICE and the Sheriff's Department. As for Cardona, it remains unclear of her future with the city of Jacksonville, but the Republican Party of Duval County is calling for her to be fired. Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Okay, so this woman thought it would be a good idea, in her capacity as a city employee, to put out a PSA about ICE in tears, right, without having it approved by the mayor, right, by her higher-ups. Okay, she essentially became an activist on the job instead of somebody who says, hey, you know what, I am going to run this up the chain, okay, see if the mayor is okay with this. And if so, then, we can put it out as, an official message from the government or whatever. She didn't do that, right? She decided to put it out in her capacity as the, Hispanic outreach coordinator or whatever. It sounds like one of the woke DI jobs, right? That needs to, honestly, probably shouldn't exist. Let's keep it 100. Right? Let's keep it 100. Hispanic outreach coordinator. Sounds like a DEI job, okay? So she decided as a DEI coordinator, whatever, right, that she was going to put this out. And she didn't run it up the chain, right? So she became an activist on the job, and now she's finding out. The Republicans are calling for her to be fired, and who knows, right? She was placed on leave because she violated the policy. Apparently, she's violated this policy multiple times, okay? So clearly, she doesn't know how to follow the rules, and her activism seems to be more important to her than her actual job, right? Or, following orders. So that being said, that brings me to another woman in Jacksonville who is actually facing multiple charges for punching a trooper in the face during ICE encounter. So without further ado, let's get into it.
This video has gone viral. It shows a woman being arrested after being accused of hitting a Florida Highway Patrol trooper during an immigration enforcement operation. And now Florida's Attorney General and Governor are weighing in. Florida's Attorney General James Uthmeier identified the woman as Jennifer Cruz and posted about her arrest on social media. In his post, he says Cruz, quote, disagrees with immigration enforcement and punched an FHP trooper in the face. Governor Ron DeSantis also addressed the arrest during a press conference while he was in Jacksonville.
I do know there was a woman who came out and assaulted one of our troopers. Let me just tell you guys, this is not Minneapolis. That is not going to end well for you in Florida.
News4Jax has received several tips about suspected ICE agents detaining people across the city. On Tuesday, witnesses reached out to our newsroom after spotting a large law enforcement presence and shared cell phone video and photos of what they saw. This viral video shows state troopers and federal agents blocking off several businesses in this shopping center parking lot.
What I witnessed was a traffic stop by the state trooper. The ICE agents showed up with the state trooper. They detained the driver, the person that was driving. And so, yeah, they had an operation going on. And after that, they had detained another person, but it seems they got into an altercation with that person. It turned violent, and that led to the presence of a lot of more, police, federal enforcement showing up.
Juan Alvarez.
And stuff like this is important. Imagery like this is important. Why is it important? Because it highlights how things are supposed to be done. First and foremost, you had the state and local law enforcement cooperating with the federal government. That's what they're supposed to do. First and foremost. This is why the operation is running smoothly, okay? There's no chaos, right? I mean, again, Florida is a Hispanic state, right? I mean, let's keep it 100. There are a lot of Latinos, okay? So let's keep it 100. You don't see the outrage in states like Texas and Florida, despite having a large Hispanic population, because of the fact that they don't have the sanctuary city policies, and because there's zero tolerance for this nonsense, right? and state and federal law enforcement, they're going to work together to put down any of these extremists that decide they want to get in the way of law enforcement. Now, is this fascism? No, this is not fascism. Is this bootlicking? No, this is not bootlicking. Is this cucking? No, this is not cucking. This is law and order. Law and order. And it's peaceful. You don't have chaos. You don't have riots. You don't have all of the stuff that you see in Minneapolis and all of these other places that are run by Democrats. So when people claim that, oh, well, Republicans and Democrats are the same, that is nonsense. All you got to do is look at the state level. Look at the differences at the local level, especially at the local and state level. It matters, right? It certainly matters. There are huge differences. If Democrats were running the state of Florida, there would be nothing but chaos in this state, right? Chaos would be all over the place. But there's not chaos because Republicans have established that you don't get away with that, right? Protesting in the street, blocking the roads. No, you can be run over. That's why you don't see it. You don't see it because there are laws in place. There are leaders in place that have zero tolerance for the nonsense. And what do you get as a result of that? You get peace, tranquility. Okay? This is how it's supposed to work.
Federal enforcement showing up.
Juan Alvarez and his family have owned Mi Pueblo for years. He says he has never seen anything like this happen outside his business. What went through your mind when you saw so many law enforcement officers, especially ICE, right in front of your business?
Well, as any business owner, you're not happy to see that. I understand they have a job to do, but as a business owner, people, they come and they look and they see, all the presence of cops, federal enforcement, ICE agents, all that. They're not going to want to stop by, they're not going to want to come in.
News4Jax has reached out to state and federal agencies asking for comment about any operations happening across Northeast Florida, and we're still waiting to hear back. Alicia Hatch.
Yeah, so let's listen a little bit more to what Governor Ron DeSantis had to say about this.
Yeah, Sean, I used to always say earlier in my tenure, all you guys should know, this is not Portland where you can do this, get slapped on the wrist, and then just get put right back on the street to do it again. If you do that, you're going to be on the working end of a jail cell. That's just the way it's going to work. We're going to hold you accountable, particularly when you talk about our state troopers who are working with DHS to enforce federal immigration law. There's a lot of people on the far left that want an open border. They don't want immigration enforcement. They think if someone comes illegally and commits felonies, they should be able to stay. But you know what, Sean? That is not the law in the United States of America. And in fact, we just had a presidential election where the voters voted for Donald Trump in large part, because Joe Biden had an open border and there were illegals coming from everywhere. So they can run on open border and try to change it for that, but the public does not want that. So if you're trying to interrupt law enforcement just doing their job, which keeps us safe, we are going to hold you accountable and buckle up. You picked the wrong state to mess around with.
Facts. This is why you don't see the nonsense in these red states. Leadership matters. So with that being said, hey, I got to reiterate, I like DeSantis, right? When we talk about 2028 conversation, I like Rubio. I like JD. I think they all have different attributes, but I really like DeSantis as an executive, to be honest with you, right? He would be my number one when I say, hey, which guy do I want in the job that's actually going to get stuff done, that has a track record, a proven track record of governing, and again, actually getting things done. DeSantis, I think, is number one. I think Rubio is number two. I think when it comes to a mix of communication and execution, I think that Rubio probably has the best mix of both, to be honest with you. I think that JD is the best communicator, okay, especially when we talk about MAGA and America First. I think JD is the best communicator. I think that he has probably not as much executive experience as I would like. Obviously, being vice president is an executive position, but it's not really, the VP is a weird job, right? So, when you talk about executive